I opened my marriage to enjoy life, then betrayed my husband with a man from the park. He left divorce papers on our bed, told our kids and my family. They all turned against me, while my lover abandoned me and ran from the baby he feared was his. I'm a 38-year-old woman. You can call me Fernanda, and my husband, whom we will call Raul, is 44. We got married when I was 19, just a month after giving birth to our daughter, Marisol. A year later our son, Carlos, was born. Both now attend the same university, 5 hours from where we live. Despite having married young and with few resources, Raul and I built a wonderful life. He has a good job and has always been an excellent husband and father. Even in the early years, when money was scarce, he always did his best to give us stability. I also worked 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now, after so many years, we have a good financial position. We own our house and have decent savings. Our family was always stable, and Raul, the children, and I were an unbreakable team until everything changed. A few months ago, I met someone who destroyed my life. It all began innocently. We have a dog that is a fundamental part of our family. As I mentioned, on Tuesdays and Thursdays I did not work, so I dedicated myself to taking the dog to the park. Raul, for his part, used to come home during his lunch hour, and we would take the opportunity to go for a walk together with the dog on the weekends. It was on those walks that I met Mauricio, a 37-year-old man. His dog and mine became friends, and so we began to talk whenever we coincided. He told me that he had seen me in the park several times, although I did not remember having seen him before. Over time, our interactions became more frequent. Nothing inappropriate happened at the beginning. We just talked about trivial topics while our pets played. One night, during dinner, I mentioned Mauricio in the conversation with Raul. I asked him if he had ever seen him in the park, but he said no. I told him that his dog had become very good friends with ours, and we would see each other about the topic. Everything seemed harmless, but then things changed. One day, while we were talking in the park, Mauricio mentioned that he lived in a luxury apartment complex nearby. I had seen those apartments before, and they always seemed nice to me. I commented that a friend was considering moving into one of them, and he suggested that I visit him to see them inside and take some pictures for her. I should have rejected the offer. I know, but I did not do it. I agreed to go to his apartment with the excuse that I would only take some pictures. I told myself that there was nothing wrong with it, but the moment I walked through the door I knew I had crossed a line. Mauricio showed me his apartment, and I was there for only about 10 minutes. Then I thanked him and told him I had to go. Before leaving, he asked me if I would come back to the park the following Tuesday. I said yes. That was the beginning of my infidelity. I did not tell Raul anything about my visit to the apartment. Instead, that night I was even more attentive to him. I prepared a special dinner and we snuggled on the couch until we went to bed. I wanted to feel better about myself, to erase the feeling of having done something wrong, but that guilt did not last long. The following Tuesday I saw Mauricio again in the park. We talked for almost 2 hours. Towards the end of the conversation, I told him that we should put some distance between us, that things were getting out of control, but instead of agreeing, he told me that he felt an incredible connection with me, and instead of pushing him away, I let myself go. The following week, instead of staying in the park, I went to his apartment. This time there were no pretexts or excuses. I spent the afternoon with him, and we were intimate for the first time. I did not feel guilt, I did not feel remorse. That night, when I got home, I felt more passionate about Raul than I had in a long time. I sought him out desperately, as if I could balance what I had done with an outburst of love for him. We had a wonderful night together. Reflecting on this now, I disgust myself, but at the time I did not stop. Mauricio and I continued to see each other at his apartment every Tuesday and Thursday. This continued until last Friday, the day everything fell apart. It had been almost 2 months since my affair began, and the worst part is that I did not even notice the changes in Raul's behavior until 2 weeks ago. Or maybe I did, but I was too caught up in my affair to care. Raul began to behave distantly. His answers became short, and he avoided having conversations with me. He also began to reject my advances and stopped initiating intimacy completely. In addition, he began to stay late at work, arriving after 8 at night, and claimed that they were busy with an important presentation and that the whole team was ordering food at the office while they worked. It was not uncommon for him to have projects like that, but it had never gone on for 2 weeks straight. I asked him about it, and he just told me that it was a classified project that would end on Friday. I trusted him. I convinced myself that after that day everything would go back to normal, and we would have a weekend together. He promised me that we would make up for lost time, but on Friday, when I got home, the emotions waiting for me were not what I imagined. The first thing I saw was a large manila envelope taped to the door with my name written on it. When I opened it, I felt my heart stop. They were copies of conversations between Mauricio and me. Not just text messages, but also Facebook chats. To communicate without suspicion, we had created fake accounts on social media. Everything was there, printed in black and white. Explicit messages, confessions, plans, undeniable proof of my infidelity. My head was spinning. I cried and tried to catch my breath. I did not know who had left that envelope on the door. Mauricio, Raul, someone else. I went into the house and saw something else waiting for me. In the center of our bed was a white gift box with a large red bow. I approached, trembling, with fear clutching my chest. There was a card with my name and my husband's name. I opened the box. Inside, perfectly organized, were the divorce papers. At that moment, I knew my life was over. I collapsed on the bed and burst into tears. I do not know how long I was there, but at some point I got up and tried to call him. He did not answer. I called again. Nothing. I sent him messages. He did not respond. Desperate, I tried to call my children. Neither answered. That was what really hit me. Minutes later, I received a text message from Raul. It was short and direct. I know everything. Our children know. Our family knows. As of 15 minutes ago. Even your parents know. I have moved out and I have signed the lease for an apartment. My lawyer will contact you soon. Enjoy your new life with Mauricio. Reading those words, I cried until my body ached. I received a call from my mother. I thought I would find support in her, but as soon as I answered, she started yelling at me. She did not let me say a word. She told me I was a disgrace to the family, that how could I have done this to my husband, to my children, to everyone. She hung up before I could defend myself. I tried to call her several times, but she did not answer. I called my father. He did answer. His voice was calm, but every word he said hurt me more. He told me that he had never imagined that his own daughter would be capable of something like that he was deeply disappointed. I could not take it anymore. I cried and apologized over and over again. He did not yell at me. He did not insult me. He just told me that I should calm down and strive to be a better person. I responded with a simple, "Okay, Dad. I will do it." And with that, our conversation ended. I felt too ashamed to talk to friends or other family members. I locked myself in my room and cried in silence. After hours of anguish, I decided to call Mauricio. Not because I wanted to continue with him, but because I needed support. I needed to feel that I was not completely alone. But as soon as he answered, his first question was, "Why are you calling me from your real number? You should use our Facebook account." I did not have the mind for games. I blurted out the truth immediately. My husband knows everything. He wants a divorce. There was a silence for a few seconds, and then his response was simply, "He knows." His tone sent a chill down my spine. I asked if he had any idea how Raul found out. Mauricio was silent for a moment and then asked me, "Does he know who I am?" I confirmed that yes, Raul had mentioned him by name in the message he sent me. His response left me cold. "Yes, you are a stupid woman, Fernanda." And he began to scream. Not a scream of anger about the situation, but a scream of fear. It was at that moment that I realized that something was terribly wrong. After his outburst, Mauricio composed himself. His tone changed completely, going from panic to a calculated coldness. "Look, I am sorry this happened," he said with indifference, "but you were careless and you ruined everything. Delete our accounts and our phone numbers, and hopefully you can save your marriage. Please, do not contact me again." I was silent for a moment, surprised and disgusted by his lack of courage. I simply replied with an, "Okay." There were no apologies for the mess he had caused in my life, no questions about how I was coping with the situation. He did not try to comfort me or give me an explanation. He did not even express gratitude for the moments we shared, only self-preservation, an empty speech from someone superficial who was only thinking about saving himself. And there, in the midst of my pain and desperation, reality hit me with all its rawness. How could I have been so stupid? How could I have put my marriage with a man like Raul at risk for someone as repulsive as Mauricio? It had not been love. It had not been a real connection, just a selfish whim, a momentary escape from a routine that in retrospect had absolutely nothing wrong with it. I am writing this at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday, which should give you an idea of my mental state. I have not been able to sleep since everything exploded, and I probably will not for a long time. I have taken the whole week off from work to try to win back my husband and my children. The only thing I want is for them to talk to me, to give me the opportunity to apologize, to explain to them how much I love them and how sorry I am for what I did. I know that nothing I say will erase my betrayal, but at least I want to do everything possible to mend the damage. I have no idea what to do next. My spirit is broken and I feel completely alone. I have lost everything. My children do not talk to me. Raul has left and has made it clear that he does not want to hear from me again. I do not have my family or my friends because I do not even have the courage to tell them what happened. I know what I did was wrong. I know I betrayed my husband in the worst possible way, but does this really merit them erasing me from their lives as if I never existed? A single mistake, a foolish thing. And now my husband has completely eliminated me. He has started divorce proceedings and has decided that I do not deserve a second chance. Is there anyone here who has been through something similar? Have any of you been rejected so quickly by your husband after a mistake? Is this really unforgivable? Or is there anything you can do to at least have the opportunity to make things right? Please help me. Update 1. I am here because I need an outlet to cope with the intense pain I am experiencing. I just had a conversation with my children after 3 days of absolute silence from them. They have ignored all my calls and messages since Raul left me. So when they finally called me, I thought maybe they wanted to talk and give me a chance to apologize. Unfortunately, what I got was a barrage of insults, disrespect, and hurtful words that I never imagined hearing from my own children. Marisol, in particular, was ruthless. I had never heard her speak like that before, and it was clear that she was influencing her brother's behavior. I tried to explain to them that I had made a mistake, that I had been manipulated by Mauricio, that in a way he had used me too. I reminded them of the years when I was a good mother to them and a dedicated wife to their father. I tried to make them understand that this slip-up did not erase everything I had done for our family, but Marisol did not want to hear any of it. She cut me off and told me that yes, I was once a great mother, but now I had become someone despicable. The worst part, according to her, was that I was trying to play the victim when I was the one who destroyed the family. Carlos did not talk much, but his silence was even more painful. The call ended with Marisol informing me that she and her brother would be spending the weekend with their father and that I should not expect to see them at all. That destroyed me. This Sunday is Mother's Day. It was always a special date for me because Raul and the children went out of their way to make me feel loved. This year I will be alone. My husband is gone, my children do not want to see me, and the only company I have left is my dog, who at least still loves me unconditionally. I know that much of what Marisol and Carlos are feeling is the initial anger that comes after a betrayal. I try to repeat it to myself over and over again, but I cannot help but feel devastated by their reaction. I am not looking for pity. I do not want anyone to tell me I did the right thing or that all of this is unfair. I just want some words of encouragement. I greatly appreciate those who have sent me messages of support. They have helped me more than I can express. Update 2. I wanted to provide an update as I have received many requests to do so. It has been 2 weeks since I started attending individual therapy, and I must say it has been a great help. My counselor is a wonderful woman who has given me the courage to move forward and face the consequences of my actions with more clarity. She explained to me that at this point I have already done everything possible to repair my relationship with my family. She has told me that the best course of action now is to take a step back and wait. If my children and my husband decide to come back to me, it will mean that there was always love between us and that, despite my mistake, there is still a strong bond. But if they never come back, then that suggests that their love for me was not as unbreakable as I thought. I do not know how to feel about it. On one hand, I understand her point of view. On the other, the idea that my own children could erase me from their lives forever breaks me inside. She also recommended Transcendental Meditation, something I started practicing last week. To my surprise, it has brought me a sense of peace and inner calm that I had never experienced before. I feel more in control of my thoughts, more able to handle the pain without feeling like I am drowning. That is how things are in my world right now. I will continue to update if necessary. I hope that in my next update, I can say that my husband and my children have decided to give me a chance, that they have finally forgiven me, and that we can be a happy family again. Update 3. It has been a while since my last update, but I have a lot to share, including some good and bad news. A couple of weeks after my last post, I discovered that I was pregnant. Yes, at 38 years old, after more than 15 years of trying to have another child without success, I was finally expecting a baby. The news left me in shock. On one hand, I felt overwhelmed with the joy of becoming a mother again, but on the other, the terror that the baby might not be Raul's paralyzed me completely. I panicked. My first instinct was to tell Raul, but I realized that if the baby was not his, I would lose him forever. Also, if the baby turned out to be Mauricio's, I was not sure I wanted to keep it. If I decided to terminate the pregnancy and Raul never found out, maybe one day he would forgive me. But if he knew, I knew he would never forgive me because he was against those procedures. The first thing I tried was to contact a clinic to perform a prenatal DNA test without needing the father's saliva. They told me it was possible, but that it required other specific body samples like hair follicles. I looked in Raul's brush and found some hairs, but they were not enough for a complete test. That was when I realized I only had one option, to contact Mauricio. The problem was that he had blocked me and had deleted his Facebook account. I had no other way to communicate with him, so I decided to go directly to his workplace and wait for him to arrive. When I finally saw him, his expression went from surprise to discomfort. At first, he tried to ignore me, but then with a tone of disgust, he asked me what I was doing there. I told him we needed to talk, that it was something important. His response was cold. "I have nothing to discuss with you. Do not bother me anymore." Inside, my blood was boiling. Why had he not thought about this before pursuing me relentlessly until I gave in to temptation? Without beating around the bush, I dropped the news. "I am pregnant. You could be the father." His face transformed into a mix of panic and rage. "No, you are not going to get away with this with me. I am not going to get stuck with a baby." His reaction infuriated me. I told him to pay attention, that I was not asking for anything from him, just his DNA sample to do the test and clear up any doubts. I warned him that if he did not agree, I would go into his office and report his inappropriate behavior to Human Resources. That night, Mauricio unblocked me and sent me a message confirming that he had scheduled the DNA test for the following Tuesday at 10 in the morning. We arrived at the clinic in complete silence. They called us one by one. Mauricio went first to give his saliva sample, and then I went in to have a blood sample drawn. I waited a whole week for the results, with my stomach in knots. When I finally received them, I could not hold back the tears. Mauricio was not the father. I knelt on the floor and cried with joy, thanking God for having blessed me with another child from Raul. I could not wait to share the news with him. However, I was still blocked everywhere, and I had no idea where he was living. My children also continued to avoid me. So I sent them a text message explaining that I had something very important to discuss, and I asked them to arrange a call for the three of us. Marisol was the one who responded. She repeatedly asked me what it was about, but I just told her that I would share it on the call. They finally agreed. When I gave my children the news, I expected at least a small positive reaction, but instead of joy, what I received was bitterness and cruelty. Without a second thought, both of them assumed the baby was Mauricio's. I assured them that it was not, that I was sure it was their father's child. Carlos interrupted me immediately, "And how can you be so sure?" I could not tell them that I had done a DNA test, so I opted for the most logical explanation. I told them that I had done the calculations based on the estimated conception date. Marisol exploded, of course. You knew Dad was going to find out about the affair, and that is why you made sure to get pregnant by him before everything came to light. Her accusation left me cold. How can you say that? I replied. All this happened before your father found out about Mauricio, but she did not want to listen to me. To her, the baby was nothing more than my attempt to trap Raul, to force him to stay with me despite my betrayal. It was absurd. It made no sense. But in their eyes, I was no longer their mother. I was just a woman who had ruined their family and was now trying to manipulate the situation for her own benefit. It did not matter what I said. It did not matter how much I tried to prove them wrong. For them, it was already too late. After many arguments, my children finally agreed to talk to their father and tell him about my pregnancy. I waited anxiously for his call that night, but it never came. The next morning, there was no communication either. I spent the day checking my phone, waiting to see his name appear on the screen, but nothing. Finally, a little after 1 in the afternoon the next day, I received a call, but it was not Raul, it was his lawyer. She left me a voicemail, and as soon as I heard it, I called her back immediately. When she answered, she explained in a professional but neutral tone that she was representing her client and that she had been informed of my pregnancy, as well as my claim that the baby was Raul's. Hearing that, I could not contain my emotions. I burst into tears and begged her to let me speak directly with my husband. I needed to hear his voice. I needed him to give me the opportunity to explain everything in person. The lawyer was empathetic, but she remained firm. She told me calmly that Raul was requesting a paternity test to confirm the parentage before considering any conversation. I agreed immediately. I was willing to do whatever was necessary to prove the truth to him. I even offered to cover the cost of the test with my own savings, although she insisted that Raul would take care of it. She asked me to set the appointment and specified that Raul would give his sample at a different time from mine to avoid any direct contact between us. I had no choice but to accept, although I felt like I was being treated as if I were a stranger. That night I cried nonstop, not because I doubted the result of the test, but because I could not understand how Raul could believe that I would try to deceive him with something so significant. Did he really think I was capable of that? That I would lie to him about the paternity of our child just to hold on to him? The paternity test was carried out shortly after. I waited for the results with unbearable anxiety, although deep down I already knew the truth. And finally, this morning they arrived. As I expected, they confirmed conclusively that Raul is the father. Even though I always knew the answer, seeing the official results brought me immense relief. Now I am focusing on leaving behind the nightmare that Mauricio dragged me into. I am holding on to the hope of being able to rebuild my relationship with Raul and with my children, although I know it will be a long and difficult road. I do not know what will happen next. I do not know if Raul will be willing to listen to me now that the test has confirmed the truth, but I am still waiting. I still believe that there is a chance, however small, of getting back some of what I lost. Thank you to everyone who has given me their support during these difficult times. I will update you when I have more news. Update 4. I have received numerous requests for an update, so here I am to share how things have been going. Although we are still in the process, every day brings us closer to rebuilding the family we were before Mauricio and my mistakes tore us apart. The first thing I want to say is that despite all my pleas and begging, and even with the confirmation that the baby was his, Raul went ahead with the divorce. I had hoped that once the paternity was confirmed we would talk, that maybe there would be a moment when he would hold me in his arms and assure me that somehow everything would be okay, but that moment never came. Instead, we had a meeting at his lawyer's office, which was recorded. During that meeting, Raul officially informed me of his decision to go ahead with the divorce and made it clear to me that the only thing he wanted was for us to have a healthy co-parenting relationship. I could not hold back my tears and asked for a moment to compose myself. When I returned, we talked about the custody agreements. I tried to convince him to share custody, but he refused. He preferred that I have full custody, which only made me break down even more. Finally, the divorce was finalized. We divided the assets, and as for child support, Raul agreed to pay 1 year of alimony and cover 50% of the expenses related to the family home, including taxes, insurance, and utilities, for 2 years to ensure a stable environment for the baby. At the end of January, our son was born, a beautiful boy, a true miracle after more than 15 years of trying without success. Not only did he bring joy into my life in the midst of all the chaos, but he also became a key point for reconciliation with my children. My relationship with Marisol and Carlos has improved significantly. Since the baby's birth, both have been coming home every weekend from college. They take turns holding him, taking care of him, and playing with him. Marisol, who was the hardest on me at the beginning, was even with me in the delivery room. But what has surprised me the most is Raul. Since the baby's birth, he has been a constant presence in the house. He comes straight from work and stays until I put the baby to bed. We have not talked about our relationship and the divorce, and I have not pressured him at all. We have only focused on our son. Just yesterday, he brought takeout. We did not eat together, but the simple fact that he thought of me and the baby seems like a positive step to me. My therapist advised me to give him space and avoid talking about our relationship, and I have followed her advice to the letter. So far, it seems to be working. I am applying the same approach with Marisol and Carlos. I do not ask them for anything, I just let them be a part of the baby's life, and I hope that with time we can heal. I do not know what will happen with Raul and me. I do not know if we will ever reconcile as a couple or if our relationship will remain a functional co-parenting one. But what I do know is that I will never again put what we have at risk. My children and my ex-husband are the most important thing to me, and I will do everything in my power to show them how much I value and appreciate them. For now, I have no more updates. I would love to say that things have gone back to normal, but I know that will never be possible. However, I am focusing on appreciating what I have now, and in my opinion, that is quite wonderful. If in the future Raul and I decide to officially reconcile, I will come back to share the good news.